My name is Alexander Fimbo and I am the publisher with Renegade Art Entertainment here in Canmore. So we're Alberta's only comic and graphic novel publisher. And I grew up in a town called Bedford, which is 50 miles north of London. And there was a certain movie coming out in 1977, a big science fiction movie, and that movie was Star Wars. And when it started, I just sat there for 2 hours with my face like this. And it just blew me away. And I wanted to figure out in my life how I could do that to other people, how I could have the same effect that that movie had on me. And I had no idea how to do it. So I spent most of my life figuring it out. I started off in acting, and I was lucky enough to be brought onto a movie called Dominator X in Brighton, which the actor who plays Pinhead in the Hellraiser movies, Doug Bradley, was a producer, and he was also the lead voiceover actor on. It was an anime movie. And Tony Luke, the director and lead animator, was a friend of mine. And they brought me down to work on the movie as a producer, and every night we'd meet up in the pub and tell stories. And all of us were talking, and we were like, well, why don't we create a company which will look after our babies, our favorite comic book stories, prose stories maybe, like movies, short stories. Let's think of something where we can protect them from birth through to getting them out to readers or to viewers. And that was where Renegade started, from that conversation in the pub. It's a labour of love, but also you have to be very careful on the business side, not to overstretch yourselves, because the costs of putting together a comic book or a graphic novel are huge. But for example, we did the Locksley's and the War of 1812, which is our award-winning Canadian bestseller, about how America tried to take over Canada, got their butts kicked, and we burnt down the White House to teach them a lesson. Yeah, there seems to be a misconception with some readers that they've never picked up a comic book or a graphic novel, that comics are just for kids, or the stories are throwaway. And for me, with what we try and find at Renegade, are stories which connect on an emotional level, and also the types of stories that aren't being catered for already by other publishers. That's why Canadian history appealed to me. I find it very interesting, being an immigrant to Canada, to be learning about Canadian history for the first time. But there doesn't seem to be anybody else tackling it in graphic novel and comic books. So I was like, okay, well that makes sense to us, it's interesting, and there's a gap in the market. There has to be something unique about it. And maybe it's an indigenous superhero story dealing with subjects that haven't been tackled before. With our Canadian comics, having them grounded in the real Canada makes a real difference, I think. So Panel One is an organisation that started probably a little over a year ago in the Danish club in Calgary to discuss how we could better connect the comics community in Calgary and Alberta, and maybe spread out further into Canada. We come together for the big entertainment expos, but we're such a small part of the overall entertainment experience when people are there to see TV and movie celebrities that often comics can feel marginalised. We wanted to create an event which was solely about comic book creators in the local area. And the Panel One Comic Creator Festival, which is on June 4th, is about meeting the creators themselves that are in the locale, see what they do, see how they do it, talk to them, and also learn about the process. So there'll be workshops. If you've ever been interested in making your own comic, professionally or as a hobby, it's a great place to come and talk to some of the people and listen to the panels, and you'll get a very good understanding of how you can make your own comic. And we have a website you can go to, panel1.ca, and find out about lots of great comic book artists and writers.